is yours, the Standard Hour, radio's oldest hour of music, designed for your enjoyment and presented every week throughout the year by the Standard Oil Company of California. Tonight's concert, the fourth in the current series of fall Grand Opera programs, is being presented from the stage of the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco. The orchestra here assembled to play for you is the San Francisco Opera Orchestra, and on the podium, ready to conduct tonight's program, is the assistant to the late General Director of the San Francisco Opera Company, Kurt Herbert Adler. Mr. Adler. Our soloists this evening are two of the most popular Standard Hour operatic stars, soprano LICIA Albanese and tenor Jan Peerce. They will be introduced later in our program. Before we bring them to the microphone, we begin our concert with the overture to Mozart's opera Don Giovanni. Here are Kurt Herbert Adler and the San Francisco Opera Orchestra. That was the Don Giovanni Overture by Mozart, with which we have opened tonight's Standard Hour broadcast. And now, after an absence of 2 years from our program, we welcome back to the Standard Hour one of the great operatic sopranos of our time. She comes to you fresh from brilliant triumphs this season in such operas as Mephistopheles, Madame Butterfly, and Turandot. It is our great pleasure to bring you once again LICIA Albanese. Miss Albanese sings as her first aria this evening the familiar and melodious Voi lo sapete from Cavalleria Rusticana by Mascagni. The voice you have heard is that of LICIA Albanese singing Voi lo sapete from Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana. We say a second welcome as our tenor star comes on stage tonight, for we also missed his thrilling voice when he was unable to sing on our broadcast last year. Many have been waiting eagerly to hear him on the Standard Hour again, just as San Francisco's opera audiences have anticipated with pleasure his return to our opera house stage. Jan Peerce. Mr. Peerce will be heard first in one of the best-known arias by Jacques Calevi, Rochelle Comte du Seigneur from the opera La Juive.
Rachel, qu'ogni Seigneur la grâce titulaire à mettre à plat ta main, ton fille à faux berceau. J'avais à t'abonner, voué ma vie entière, et c'est moi qui te livre au bourreau. J'avais à t'abonner, voué ma vie entière, et c'est moi qui te livre au bourreau, et c'est moi qui te livre au bourreau. Voix qui me crie, sauve-moi que la mort qui m'attend. Je suis jeune et je tiens à la vie. Oh, mon père, épargnez votre enfant. Je suis jeune et je tiens à la vie. Oh, mon père, oh, mon père, épargnez votre enfant. Rachel, qu'ogni Seigneur la grâce titulaire à mettre à plat ta main, ton fille à faux berceau. J'avais sa table, voué ma vie entière, et c'est moi qui te livre au bourreau, et c'est moi qui te livre au bourreau. Rachel, je te livre au bourreau. Rachel, c'est moi qui te livre au
From Jacques des Opera Luxville, the tenor Jan Pierce has sung the aria Rachel, Comte du Seigneur. And now the voices of both our stars will be heard together in the duet from the first act of Bizet's Carmen, in which Michaela brings Jose news of his mother. Here assuming the roles for this duet are LICIA Albanese and Jan Pierce.
Parle-moi de ma mère, parle-moi de ma mère.
Et plus un peu d'argent pour ajouter autre traitement.
Et puis,
vraiment, jeune homme. Et puis encore une autre chose qui vaut mieux que l'argent et qui pourra vous
c'est autre chose que le terre parle donc.
Oui, je parlerai ce que l'on m'a donné. Je vous le donnerai. Votre mère avec moi sortit de la chapelle et s'est alors en m'embrassant. Et papa m'a-t-elle dit d'aller à la ville. La route n'est pas longue, une fois acceptée, je cherchais là mon fils, mon José, mon enfant. Je cherchais là mon fils, mon José, mon enfant. Et tu diras que ta mère, agilité jour à l'instant.
Baiser de ma mère, baiser de ma mère,
Baiser pour son fils, José te volera, comme je l'ai promis.
ma mère, je la vois, oui, je revois mon village, au souvenir d'autrefois, au souvenir du pays.
La
Au
mère
souvenir du pays, au souvenir chéri,
au
au
souvenir,
souvenir chéri.
The Act One duet between Michaela and Jose from Bizet's Carmen has been sung for you by LICIA Albanese and Jan Pierce. This brings us to the midway point of tonight's Standard Hour. Our concert will continue after a brief pause for station identification. The Standard Hour, now in its 27th year of broadcasting, is coming to you from the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco. Before we continue with the musical portion of our program, here is Mr. Hale Sparks with a story about the weaver, the baker, and the beauty aid maker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Remember your nursery rhymes? Well, here's a modernized line from one of them. It goes, rub-a-dub-dub. Want a suit you can scrub, face cream, or a well-protected loaf? Well, if you do, Standard Oil Company of California can help you because it has put oil to work for the weaver, the baker, the beauty aid maker, and practically everyone else. And since tonight marks the beginning of Oil Progress Week, it's a good time to point out that oil men do more than just supply 88% of the energy for the 7 western states. They have a hand in providing you with thousands of other things you don't buy in service stations. Suits, for example. That wrinkle-resistant model you may be wearing now was woven from an oil-borne ingredient developed in Standard's research laboratories. Or consider the bread you eat. Millions of loaves last year were wrapped in paper coated with Standard wax. Whenever you light a candle, polish a shoe, empty a milk carton, or use waxed paper, you may well be using wax turned out by Standard oilers. And when the lady of the house creams her face, Standard is involved too. It supplies enough highly refined oils to cosmetic makers each year for 10 million jars of face cream. Nowadays, a barrel of oil is an endless source of things for you besides fuels and lubricants. Automobile tires, medicines and nylons, detergents, plastics, paints, insecticides, cleaning fluids, and thousands of other products developed by oil industry scientists. These examples of the uses of oil in modern living emphasize one important point. The oil industry has moved from old-time kerosene to the new synthetic fibers in one short generation, and so have you. Oil progress is your progress. As one of the companies investing millions each year in research that helps make oil progress possible, Standard Oil Company of California again demonstrates how it plans ahead to serve you and the nation better.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Returning to the musical portion of our program, we present Kurt Herbert Adler and the San Francisco Opera Orchestra in a rendition of a selection once well known to opera-goers but more recently neglected, the March from the Queen of Sheba by Carl Goldmark. late general director of the San Francisco Opera Company, gained fame for his presentations of the operas of Giacomo Puccini, so our soprano star tonight has become renowned as an interpreter of Puccini heroines. Thousands have heard her as Mimi, Cho-Cho-san, Leo, Laurietta, Manon Lescaut, and Tosca. This evening, LICIA Albanese takes the role of the coquettish Musetta in La Bohème as she sings the famous waltz song from Act Two. The music you have heard is Musetta's Waltz Song from La Bohème by Puccini, as sung by LICIA Albanese. There are few arias that so breathe the very spirit of grand opera as the one you are now to hear, and there are few singers who've been able to imbue this music with as much thrilling beauty as does our tenor soloist. Here is Jan Peerce to sing Vesti la Giuba from I Pagliacci by Leoncavallo.
Recitar mentre presa dal delirio non so più quel che dico e quel che faccio e porre d'uovo portati va sai e topparsi in tu sei pagliaccio la giubba e la faccia è farina, la gente paga e ride le vuole qua, e sei arleghi, tiene la colombina, ridi, variato,
From Mi Pagliacci by Leoncavallo, Jan Pearce has sung Vesti la Giuba. And now, as an orchestral interlude, Kurt Herbert Adler has selected another number from a seldom-heard opera. Many of us are familiar with the music of Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel, but comparatively few have seen or heard Humperdinck's opera Die Königskinder. Here, then, this charming introduction to Act Two. The San Francisco Opera Orchestra, Kurt Herbert Adler conducting, has played the introduction to Act Two from Humperdinck's opera Die Königskinder, The King's Children. In the first act of Puccini's opera La Tosca is heard one of the most famous of all love duets. It is the duet between Floria Tosca, the heroine of the opera, and Mario Cavaradossi, her lover. And here in person are two of the most renowned interpreters of these operatic roles to recreate that scene for you, LICIA Albanese and Jan Pearce.
Chi
sirena verrò.
Oh mio
Or lasciami al lavoro,
mi scacci,
porge l'opera, lo sai,
vado, vado. Quella donna bionda lassù,
la Maddalena ti
è
piace,
troppo bella.
prezioso elogio. La vidi ieri, ma fu pure casa, prega sui penne, non visto la ritratti.
Giuro,
Giuro,
come mi guarda fiso,
vien via,
mi mette par da ride.
follia.
Quegli occhi,
All'occhio alla può star riparo, all'ardente occhio tuero. È qui che l'esser mio e l'esser mia s'affida intera. All'occhio tuo
l'arte di farti amare. Ma alle gli occhi neri.
mia gelosa,
Sì, lo sento, sì, non penso senza cosa.
mia gelosa, mia gelosa, mia rosa e rola strada, ogni cosa in te mi piace. Era
Our star soloists, LICIA Albanese and Jan Peerce, have sung the love duet from Act One of Puccini's La Tosca. To conclude tonight's Standard Hour concert, Kurt Herbert Adler and the San Francisco Opera Orchestra play for you a Verdi overture that needs no introduction, La Forza del Destino. That was the overture to La Forza del Destino by Verdi. The San Francisco Opera Orchestra was tonight under the direction of Kurt Herbert Adler, and our guest soloists were soprano LICIA Albanese and tenor Jan Peerce. Next week, the Standard Hour once again will be heard from San Francisco's War Memorial Opera House. Fausto Cleva will return as guest conductor, and our guest soloists will be two young Italian singers who are making their American debuts with the San Francisco Opera Company this season. They are soprano Giulietta Simeonato and tenor Cesare Valetti. In her Standard Hour debut, Miss Simeonato will sing Non So Più from Act One of Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro and My Heart at Thy Sweet Voice from Samson and Delilah by Saint-Saëns. For his first appearance on our program, Mr. Valetti has chosen Una Furtiva Lagrima from Donizetti's The Elixir of Love and Pourquoi me relier from the Opera Werther by Massenet. Together, our soloists will sing a duet from Act 4 of La Favorita by Donizetti. Fausto Cleva and the orchestra will be heard in the Overture to Norma by Bellini, the Intermezzo from Manon Lescaut by Puccini, and Wagner's Tannhäuser Overture. To enjoy this Standard Hour program with us, the Standard Oil Company of California cordially invites you to tune in at this time next Sunday. Remember, this hour is yours. The 1384th Standard Hour has come to you from the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco and is heard overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. You're giving wholesome fun to children, hope to desperate families, life to the critically sick when you give to your community chest or United Crusade Fund. One gift once a year for all the good things you want to do. Now, give generously. Give from the heart. Your announcer has been John Grover. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.